tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start our fundamentals class, which we couldn't do for a considerable number of weeks due to our busy schedule and the many other activities that were held in our International Institute of Theravada. So today I would like to continue my lectures from the place where we stopped. Last time we discussed about how certain body parts like liquids, bodily liquids get excreted from the body due to the influence of the mind. We discussed about saliva, mucus, sweat and tears. And today we are going to discuss some few technical information about a topic that we have already discussed, that is to say, breathing. In our previous one of our previous lectures, we discussed in detail how breathing has been explained within the Theravada tradition and what are the issues with regard to the explanations given in the tradition. Because as the tradition explains, we breathe, we inhale and exhale. It's obvious that we are taking in some air from the outside atmosphere into our body, and we also exhale some air that is found in the body, which we inhaled. But according to the tradition, all the Rūpas involved, it means Rūpas involved in Anapana or inhaling and exhaling, are exclusively Chittaja Rūpas, mind-born matter. Normally we talked about the breath body as the Anapanasati, and it is, according to the tradition, it is a Chittaja Rūpa together with the sound, and that's why we can hear a subtle sound while we inhale and exhale. But the question that arises is, when the air from the atmosphere is taken in, we obviously know that it is Uttuja Rūpas, it's made out of Uttuja Rūpas. How could these Uttuja Rūpas be turned into Chittaja Rūpas while it is inside the body? It seems a very daunting task to explain this. On the other hand, the Chittaja Rūpas that are found in the body, when they go out, they turn into Uttuja Rūpas. It seems like possible to explain how this happens, but it also contradicts with another portion of Dhamma found in Visuddhimagga, in another places Visuddhimagga, because Chittaja Rūpas, they can produce Uttuja Rūpas from their Tejo Dhatu, but those generations would last only 2 or 3 times, maximally 3 generations. But we know that the air that we exhale could exist for a longer period in the atmosphere. Therefore, it's a very clearly there is a huge mismatch together between the experience, that the natural thing that we experience, the phenomena that we experience, and also the explanation of the tradition. And regarding breathing, I would like to turn your attention towards another smaller aspect that also needs to be considered. Because according to the tradition, as explained in the Yamakappakarana, breathing is given the term Kaya Sankhara. Kaya Sankhara. Kaya Sankhara means a reality that is being produced by the body or that arises due to body. The two terms Kaya and Kaya Sankhara have been explicitly explained in 2 different ways. Kaya refers to the body made out of 4 great elements and made out of 4, which arises due to 4 causes. That is the body made, it's rather better to say, the body made out of 4 great causes, 4 causes. That means it includes kammaja rūpas, chittaja rūpas, then it includes uttuja rūpas, and also aharaja rūpas. All 4 types of rūpas. The body made out of all 4 types of rūpas. That means rūpas produced by 4 causes. Kaya sankhara is referring to the breath body, inhaling and exhaling. As the tradition holds, this is exclusively chittaja rūpas. Chittaja rūpas, which are constituted with saddha navaka kalapas. Saddha navaka. Saddha navakas. The point that the issue is, if I directly go into the point, in Yamaka it is mentioned kaya and kaya sankhara are not the same. They are not the same. Kaya sankhara and kaya are not the same. The question that arises is, now kaya includes all the rūpas that are called the body. And we all obviously know that when we analyze the body in terms of the 4 great elements based on the Chullahatti Padopama Sutta or Mahāravāda Sutta, Chullahatti or Mahahatti, one of them, and the Mahāravāda, we see that even the breath, according to commentary explanations, even the breath body is considered as a part of the main body. The asasa passasa is also a part of the main body. When it's been questioned in Yamaka whether kaya and kaya sankhara are identical, kayo kaya sankharoti, the answer is no. Kaya sankharo kayoti, the answer is still no. But if kaya sankhara was taken as a part of the body, the answer would be except the anapa. If for example, is kaya sankhara, except the breath body, the remaining are kaya but not kaya sankhara. That's how the answer should have been. And kaya sankhara kaya also we could have explained like that. But maybe it's another way of explaining. Somehow they have said it has no. The Yamaka has said it's no. So how do we understand this explanation? Because kaya sankhara and kaya sankhara are obviously 2 different words, because in these 2 words the emphasis is given. Now kaya is a one singular morphem, so the emphasis is upon itself. Then kaya sankhara, the emphasis is given on sankhara, not the kaya. The sankhara means the realities that have been produced by the kaya or that have arisen due to the help of the kaya. Produced by the kaya or due to the help of the kaya. So the actual terms refer to 2 different things. This refers to the body, while this refers to the breath body. Breath body. As the 2 terms are having 2 different meanings, seems like it's been said in Yamaka that kaya and kaya sankhara are not identical. They are different. They are completely different realities. So then why is this called kaya sankhara? Breath body is called kaya sankhara. Because without the body, the breath body cannot happen. The inhaling and exhaling cannot happen. But within the tradition, normally we take this body, the air that goes in. For example, if we take this as the human being, if this is the nostril path, and then this moves into lungs, the air that goes in, the nose, through the nostrils and comes out from the nostrils is the anapana, is the assasa passasa. And this body which contains more air, abundant air element, is considered the assasa passasa. Ironically, the tradition holds it as the commentators say, this breathing starts from the stomach, the area of the navel. Because we can feel when we are breathing as if the breath is going into the stomach, belly, and it's coming from the belly. They consider that the air arises in the belly and comes up. But we know it's very exactly, we know now, these days, air doesn't go into the stomach, it moves into the lungs. So when the lungs are expanding to accept the air, the layer under the between the upper body and the stomach, that part expands. So as a result, in order to get the space, the belly expands. Belly is not expanding because air is filling into the belly. It is expanding in order to get the space for the lungs to receive the air. That's why this entire body is expanding and collapsing while we are breathing. It's expanding and coming back while inhaling and exhaling. Now, the thing is, the tradition holds the breath body, the anapana, assasa passasa, is the air that is moving through the nasal pipe, that air pipe, into the stomach and comes out of it. So this seems to be a very huge issue of the Theravada teachings, which contradicts with the modern findings, and it seems like not accurate. The textbooks, the Tipitaka doesn't say about this entire process. It says about a beginning, middle and end of the breath body. The sub-commentators have said that the air starts from the stomach area. Now, the next opinion that we suggested during those lectures, instead of taking the assasa passasa as the air that goes in and comes out, we can also consider the expansion and the collapsing or shrinking of the body, which happens as a biological process while we breathe. We can take it as the kaya sankhara, because we know because it is mentioned in the books that when the mind is reaching higher levels in concentration, this assasa passasa would become subtle. It would become subtle. And we can also experience when we grow in meditation, especially in concentration and also in wisdom, in meditation practice, the amount the body shakes reduces. And it is also mentioned in the fourth jhana, it stops. And in Nirodha Samapatti, you cannot find it. And that's why some people misjudge the bhikkhus who are in the Nirodha as dead. And that happened to Venerable Sanjiva. He was under a tree meditating, and people thought he has died. And then they gathered firewood, covered him with the firewood and lit it. The fire went out till exhausting all the firewood, but not even the piece of his robe was harmed by the fire. That was because of the power of the Nirodha Samapatti in which he was abiding. As the body was not moving, body was not inhaling and exhaling, the expansion and collapsing was not visible. People thought the monk had died while sitting. So if you take the assasa passasa as this expansion and collapsing of the body, and we also see some movement, some sound connected with it, then we find no such issue, because this expansion happens due to Vayu Dhatu, because obviously Vayu is responsible for the movement of the body. And Asasa Pasasa is more Rupa Kalapas with more Vayu, and it's obvious that the movement is involved with Vayu. Therefore, if we take this expansion and collapsing of the body as the Asasa Pasasa, we may find a way out to match this and not to contradict with the information that we have these days. So, Asasa Pasasa is something that is happening, breathing is something that is happening due to the mind. And we can also consider, if you look into it in a radical or objective perspective, rather than saying the air is produced by the consciousness, the breath that we inhale and exhale is produced by the consciousness, we can say this mechanism is happening as long as the consciousness is there. It's a radical point of view, because according to the tradition, Chittaja Rupas are the matter that are produced by the consciousness. When a mushroom is coming out of the ground, it appears, when it comes out, it carries a bit of soil on its top, because it's coming through, it's breaking the layer of the earth and coming up. So obviously it is carrying some soil on its top. In the same way, when the chitta arises, it comes into the existence to having produced. Having means together with some chittaja rupas. It's not in the gerund form. It's having produced means it's producing at the same time. When the chitta is arising, it arises producing. We can say in the continuous tense, producing some chittaja rupas. So chittaja rupas are some new elements that are produced by the consciousness. When we take asasa pasasa as chittaja rupas, it amounts to the opinion or the fact that chitta is producing asasa pasasa. Then the obvious questions that arise, I discussed this in detail in those previous in that lecture. The obvious question, I did actually I think 2 or 3 lectures on that topic. The obvious question that arises is, without the atmospheric air, could a being sustain? Obviously not. That's a proven fact and there's no argument in it. Why is that? Because we need air to inhale and to get the oxygen. If asasa pasasa is a chittaja rupa, the chitta should be able to produce this inhaling and exhaling, or this air, the sufficient air within the body, and the beings would be able to sustain. And that doesn't happen at all. How could asasa pasasa, the air that we are inhaling, be chittaja rupas? And it is also obvious, if a poisonous gas is inhaled, it affects us and the being could die even. And the poisonous gas was existing in the outside atmosphere, and it has to be a Uttuja Rupa according to the standards of Theravada. And if we are inhaling the poisonous gas, we are inhaling Uttuja Rupas, not Chittaja Rupas. And one can argue those Chittaja Rupas, when enter into the body, turn into those Uttuja Rupas that were existing in the outside. When we are inhaling it, they turn into Chittaja Rupas, which seems to be a very difficult fundamental to be defended. How could Chittaja Rupas turn into, how could Uttuja Rupas turn into Chittaja? Because Chittaja Rupas could turn into Uttuja Rupas, because the Tejo Dhatu within the Chittaja Rupas are capable of producing a Uttuja Kalapa. That is possible. And also referring to the very ancient commentaries, one may argue that those generations would exist for a longer period. That's possible too. That's something that is defendable or can be explained. But how could Uttuja Rupas turn into Chittaja Rupas? Because Chittaja Rupas are things that are newly produced by the consciousness. So therefore, this inhaling, the breathing, the explanation about breath given in the Theravada tradition seems to be really challenging to explain with the information that we have today that has been proven. There is no argument in it that the fact that we are inhaling air from the outside environment, atmosphere, which is the Utuja Rūpa. In order to get rid of this contradicting or this challenging opinion of the Theravada, one may argue that Chittaja Rūpas in this regard, Asasa Passasa is a Chittaja Rūpa not because it's been newly produced by the consciousness. It is a mechanism that is happening as long as the consciousness is existing. So in that regard, Asasa Passasa is not produced by the consciousness. The mechanism is happening due to consciousness. That's another radical point of view that you can bring. And this, if you take this approach, which I'm not going to explain in detail, one can also explain the existence of Karmaja Rūpas in that regard, in that way as well. The Karmaja Rūpas, one could argue, I'm not expounding this as a fundamental or as an opinion of myself. One could argue and say Karmaja Rūpas are not real Rūpas produced by the karma. When the karma is acting upon the Rūpa, Utuja Rūpas, and Utuja Rūpas need that effect of the karma, invisible effect of the karma, so the body could sustain. Why do I bring this opinion? There's another point that most of the ones who are adhering to the Abhidhamma would not like to hear this much. But there is also a challenging point that I did not discuss in the Karmaja Rūpa lectures, but there is a challenging fact for the Theravadians regarding Karmaja Rūpas as well. Because it is mentioned in the commentaries, Karmaja Rūpa, this is nothing related to this topic, but is something worthy giving attention at. Karmaja Rūpas and all types of Rūpas all the Rūpas produced by four causes, including the Karmaja Rūpas, as mentioned in the commentaries, in the Dhammasangani commentary, are visible to the eye. When we are looking at a person, all the color produced by all four Rūpas clash on our eye, and when we are seeing a person, the color of a person, we are not only seeing the Utuja Kalapas, we are seeing all types of Kalapas, color of all types of Kalapas, including Karmaja Kalapas, Chittaja Kalapas, Aharaja Kalapas, and Utuja Kalapas. Then the obvious question that arises is, now Karmaja Kalapas are not existing in a dead body. Then the problem is, a question that one can raise is, there should be, now when we are seeing the living body, for example through a microscope, and we are examining the body of a dead being through a microscope, we should be able to understand, just focus on the color. Just focusing on the color, one should be able to understand or differentiate the dead body and the living body only through the color. Because if Karmaja Rūpas are seen to the naked eye, are sensitive to this Chakkuprasada, forget about a microscope. If it is sensitive to the naked eye, and if we are seeing all these four types of Rūpas, color produced by four types of Rūpas, and that is not visible or not present in a dead body, there should be an obvious difference between the color of a dead body and a living body. And to my understanding, and also there are some Rūpas which are exclusive for Karmaja Kalapas, then the question is, we should be able to differentiate the dead body and the living body only through the observation of the color. One can argue, one can still defend this. One could still defend it, saying that the Karmaja Rūpas are not seen as separate entities when all the color is hitting our Chakkuprasada or contacting our Chakkuprasada, and it also includes all the other three types of Rūpas. So will not be, and while seeing a dead body even, we are seeing only the Uttuja Kalapas. Since the Uttuja Kalapas are very much abundant, we will not be able to distinguish this absence of Kammaja Kalapas through the absence of Kammaja Kalapas in a dead body. Then the next problem is these Kammaja Kalapas. Now we have Kaya Pasada, Bhava Rupa, and all these special Kammaja Kalapas which are only produced by the karma. If Kammaja Kalapas are visible to the naked eye, the next point, we should be able to see them through a microscope. If it is sensitive to the naked eye, we should be able to see them through a microscope. And how could this be explained? I know from the tradition, you can bring lots of arguments to defend this, saying that they are very subtle and it's not necessary to be not necessary to be understood, because these Kammaja Kalapas are only visible to the samadhi or to the wisdom eye. But the problem is the color of Kammaja Kalapas has been explained as things sensitive to the naked eye. So it should be sensitive to the microscopes as well. It seems like we should be able to see these Kammaja Kalapas when we are going into the Rupas through a microscopic view. So there's another thing to consider. I am not saying that it completely contradicts with the modern findings, but that is an issue, something that should be given attention at, according to my opinion. But one can argue on another way to defend the tradition, but in a radical standpoint, saying that Kammaja Rupas are not produced by the karma, as I said to Chittaja Rupas. As long as the Chitta is present, the inhaling, exhaling process is happening. So we term it as a Chittaja Kalapa or Chittaja Rupa. The same way, a Rupa that is being influenced by the karma, if a karma is acting upon the Rupa, we can say that entire Rupa or Kammaja Rupas are found in that body. Kammaja Rupas are the effects made by it's the influence of the karma upon the body. I know this statement fully violates the fundamentals of Theravada teachings, but it's a radical approach one could make, because it's not, we haven't seen any Kammaja Kalapas with our scientific experiments, because Rupa is a domain of the science, is within the domain of the science, and also as the commentators say that the color of Kammaja Rupas are visible to the naked eye. So that means we are opening up, it is empirical. That's the point here. Kammaja Rupas are empirical. Empirical mean should be known through investigation, should be known through scientific means. So if we are unable to see such Rupas so far, then one can argue the science has not developed into the level that you can see the Kammaja Rupas. Then how could it be visible to the naked eye? It's an obvious question that arises. If it is visible to the naked eye, what prevents it from seeing through a microscope? What prevents it from seeing through the scientific means? So in the same way, because of this issue, one may take an approach saying that obviously karma is acting upon the body. No argument on it according to Theravada teachings, and it cannot be disproved. That's the point. Because it cannot be disproved because the karma is a non-physical entity that is acting upon the physical body. It's like the consciousness. Consciousness can never be proven through scientific means, but it is acting and it's influencing the body. So the body behaves according to consciousness. So one can say the karma is in the similar, is also in a similar domain like consciousness, and it's influencing the body. So when the influence is made on the body, we can say Kammaja Rupas are present. Or Rupa can be termed as a Kammaja Rupa when the influence of karma is there. But then the question comes, so the same Rūpa would become Tuj Rūpas and Karmaj Rūpas, Chittaj Rūpas. So obvious questions will arise. But please keep it in mind, there are some huge issues that needs to be addressed within the tradition. When we say Karmaj Rūpas, Chittaj Rūpas are produced by the karma and chitta respectively, and if they are sensitive to the naked eye. That's another thing for you to, another point for you to think. I just opened the some debates, possible debates that are found in the tradition. And then, so this Kaya Sankhara, now breathing happens due to the consciousness. There's no argument in it. Because when the consciousness is not present, breathing doesn't happen. It happens after the person is dead and also while the person is in the Nirodha Samapatti. And in the Brahma realm, breathing doesn't happen. And also when someone enters into the fourth jhana, breathing stops. Breathing stops. It's something that can be, would be very interesting if someone actually possesses the fourth jhana, and if he's been entered into a machine where the body can be checked, and this could be objectively verified whether he's actually breathing or not. So for that we have to first find a yogi who truly enters into the fourth jhana and put him into this scanning and see whether his breathing is actually happening. The obvious way to find out is, which is not highly recommended actually, if you put a polythene bag onto till the neck, not for a longer period, would eventually could kill the person. If actually we are breathing in and out, we would be able to see the bag is going in and out. Even subtle breath is there, surely it would be, we would be able to see the collapsing of the bag. So if someone is in the fourth jhana and he is not breathing at all, nothing would happen to the bag, should happen to the bag. Then in the discussion, Chula Vedalla Sutta, when Dhammadinna and Visakha means, Visakha is not the lady Visakha, who is very famous in the literature. This is the gentleman Visakha who became an Anagamini, and his wife entered into Sasana and became an Arahant, because first Visakha, Mr. Visakha, the gentleman Visakha, became an Anagami when he came back to the house, and wife wanted to welcome him. But then he rejected and said, no, I will not touch you again anymore, because he had abandoned all the Kamaraga. So he had no relationship with the lady in terms of lust. And that hurt her very badly. But that's the reality, because he had already overcome the defilements and he cannot be brought into the realm of passion anymore. Then she felt there's no use for me staying in the lay life when my husband has overcome all these passions. So then she decided, if you allow me, I would like to go and become a nun. And he happily agreed to that and offered her to the Sasana. And she later became an Arahant, even overcoming, going beyond the level of her husband. And later on, these ex-husband and wife had a nice discussion, which is termed as the Chula Vedalla Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. During the discussion, answering a question asked by Visakha, the ex-husband, Dhammadinna explained the three types of sankharas: Kaya Sankhara, Vachi Sankhara, and Chitta Sankhara. And Kaya Sankhara is overcome at the level of fourth jhana, and their Kaya Sankhara means Asasa, Pasasa, inhaling, in-breath and out-breath. Then Vachi Sankhara is overcome at the level of the second jhana in the fourfold method, where Vitakka and Vichara is overcome with the concentration. And Chitta Sankhara, which are the Chetana, Vedana and Sanya, are overcome at the attainment of Nirodha Samapatti at the end of the Neva Sanya, Sanyayatana jhana. They are the Kaya Sankhara word we find as the in-breath and out-breath. And this should not be mingled or mixed with the sankharas found in the Paticcasamuppada. In the Paticcasamuppada doctrine, we find a place where sankharas that are being produced by avijja. Avijja paccaya sankhara. And sankhara paccaya vijnana. This sankhara produces vijnana. The sankhara term found in Patisamuppada has no whatsoever relationship with the in-breath or out-breath. Otherwise, we will be breathing due to avijja. No. Their sankhara refers to chetanas found in mundane, lokiya, kusala, akusala chittas. Only kusala, akusala. The chetana found in akusala chittas, 12 chetanas found in akusala chittas, and the chetanas found in mundane kusala chittas, 17 mundane kusala chittas. Altogether, there are 29 chetanas that are being produced by avijja. That is in the cycle of Patisamuppada, or the causal link of the Patisamuppada. And the word sankhara has many meanings in the doctrine, and one place, especially in the Mahaveda, Chulavedala Sutta and Yamakappakarana, the sankhara term, kaya sankhara, is used to referring to the breath body. In other places, sankhara has various different meanings. It's one of the terms that have multiple meanings. Only second to the term dhamma. Dhamma also is a word that has multiple meanings. Then breathing happens due to the consciousness. Another thing that happens due to consciousness is the emission of semen. Another topic that we discussed in detail in a previous lecture. Emission of semen happens due to consciousness, and it's mainly due to, we are talking only about the semen of the males, and that is mainly due to lobha mula chitta connected with kamaraga. Lobha mula chitta connected with kamaraga, lust, kamaraga. And this semen, which also can be termed as sperm in some places, but there's a special difference between them. Semen is something that is found within the body. There are opinions on the location where it is found, but normally we know it's found in the area of the, it's produced in the testicles, and it's in the areas surrounding that part. But ancient teachers held the opinion that semen is found, some teachers held the opinion semen is found in the entire body. And this Rūpa is called the Sambhava Rūpa. Sambhava Rūpa. This is a term that we find for semen, Sambhava Rūpa. Sambhava Rūpa has been explained something that contains more apodhatu in the commentaries and also in the sub-commentaries. But Vimati Vinodini states that it is a Rūpa with abundant patavi, hardness, and is found in the entire body. The argument, the logic they bring is, when the semen is emitted, the male person feels the entire body becomes weak. So it shows that, according to those teachers, that it has an effect on the entire body and it should be found in the entire body, which doesn't match with today's explanation, scientific findings, because semen is located in a specific place in the male body, and some teachers of the ancient antiquity believe that it is located in a certain particular place, not in the entire body. A story that they have given is King Mahasena, who was afflicted by a lot of lust, who wanted to show that he needs to have sex, cut his arm, shoulder, and showed to one of his wives, queens, that how much he's been oppressed by lust at that moment, and semen emitted from the shoulder. That's how the story goes. I don't know how accurate the story is. So it says that semen emitted from his shoulder. So this is also something that is taken to justify the opinion that semen is found in the entire body. But according to scientific information, we find it's located in a certain particular area of the body. So whatever it is, regardless of the location, it's considered as something hard by the Vimati Vinodini Tika. But when the lustful chitta thoughts arises, this hard semen slowly, gradually turns into liquid semen and starts to come through the penis. So that's the opinion of the Vimati Vinodini Tika. Sarata Dipani and commentaries doesn't talk about a semen with abundant patavi. but they talk about semen with apo. But Vimati Vinodini believes in two types of sambhava rupas, semen, that is which is hard and which becomes into liquid due to the influence of kamaraga. Then the question arises, in whose body is this semen is found? It is believed that in the infancy, the young ages, semen is not found in the human body. When the person starts to grow with the biological changes, semen starts to occur, and that's also understandable. The question that, and also it's not found in the bodies of Brahmas. Obviously, they are beyond the lust, and it's not possible to find semen in their body. Then the question arises, what about the Arahants? It is mentioned that it is not found in the body of Arahants in some books. But Vimati Vinodini states it is found in the body of Arahant, because truly it is a biological process that is happening. But it remains in the solid form. It never comes into the liquid form, because to turn it into the liquid form, the lustful thoughts are necessary. Seems to be a very logical argument. But I'm not sure whether the hard solid semen is something that can be justified in terms of science. We don't need to justify everything from science, but because Rūpa is in the realm of the science and these things are obviously observable, there's no doubt about that, there's obviously observable, we have to give respect to the science in these regards when we are dealing with Rūpa, obviously, when we are dealing with the Rūpa. Because we are not talking about an invisible realm when we come to the Rūpas. That's why I said all the 4 types of Rūpas are visible to the naked eye according to the Theravada teaching. So then we are in the realm of objectivity or realm of empirical observation. So then with the high technology of seeing into the Rūpas with the microscopes and the microscopic views, we cannot deny the arguments brought against the tradition with regard to these topics. So I'm not sure whether this solid semen, whether it's something that can be acceptable. Anyway, it's obvious that when someone has attained the anagamihood and become an arahant on this, and also one who has attained the jhanas, the semen would not emit from his body. It's obvious, because for the emission of semen, lust is necessary, and that is something that can be justified. And so therefore, according to Vimati Vinodini, semen is found in the body of arahants, but it doesn't emit as the lacking of kamaraga in them, and it also is applicable to anagamis. Some book says it is not found in the bodies of arahants, but it seems like, my personal opinion is, it should be found in the bodies of arahants, because it is produced as a biological process, and as the Vimati Vinodini states, it's not emitted, because in the Kathavattu it is mentioned, is clearly mentioned, Sukha Visatti means the emission of semen never happens to an arahant. If a semen is emitting, that is an indicator of non-arahanthood. Even it is emitted during a sleep, during a dream, still the kamaraga, the lustful chitta is very necessary, is very much necessary. And this semen, emission of semen is also highly related with the chitta rupas. Why is that? The kamaraga is necessary. The lobamula chitta is necessary. For the breathing to happen, there are few types of chittas. If my memory was correct, breathing doesn't happen for arupa avachara vipaka chittas. Obviously, they arise only in the arupa world. And then with the 10 vinyanas. So we have 74 types of chittas with which one breathes. Other than that, and also the chittas in the Brahma realms do not produce asasa pasasa. So breathing is related to many number of chittas, because it happens even while we are at sleep. But Sukha Visatti, emission of semen, which is also a chitta, which also happens as a process of chitta rupas, which is also involved, a process that the chitta is involved, only happens with the lobamula chittas with kamaraga. So my today's lecture is to show that these two processes, because we discussed about how the bodily liquids such as saliva, tears, mucus and sweat is emitted through the chitta, how chitta is involved in their emission. They can happen as a biological process or a natural process as well as Uttuja Rupas. At the same time, we can clearly see the influence of chittas for their emission. But regarding emission of semen, it doesn't happen as a natural process without the involvement of kamaraga, which is a very vital fundamental in Theravada tradition. Because during the 3rd century, when the third council was in the time period where the 3rd council was held, some believed that arahants could emit semen even without having a kamaraga. Some said that it is those semen is put into their robes by some deities. They also believe there are various opinions on that, but some believe that emission can happen to an arahant. So it's very strongly refuted within the Theravada tradition, saying that no, it's not possible, because for the emission of semen, kamaraga has to be there, and arahant is a person who has emitted, completely eradicated it. Arahants, anagamis, and also the ones who have attained jhanas, semen would never emit. Sakadagami's case, it's something that is to be discussed in detail, because Sakadagamis do have kamaraga, but it's accepted, the accepted norm is that Sakadagamis would not have the kamaraga to the level of having sex. There is a sutra in which sutra which mentions about a Sakadagami who is an Abrahmachari. Abrahmachari is Sakadagami. So therefore some ancient teachers believe that the Sakadagamis could have sex, but it's been rejected by most of the books, saying that Sakadagamis do have kamaraga, but it doesn't arise to the level of a Sotapanna, and it doesn't arise very frequently, and it doesn't arise very strongly. So therefore they cannot go into the level of having sex, even though they do possess kamaraga. But the emission of semen, I'm unable to give an exact statement whether it's possible, because emission of semen can happen at a lower level as well due to the kamaraga. But obviously for Sotapanna, that's obvious, because they can even they can have sex and produce even children, offspring as well, and it's a known fact in the Theravada teaching. So arahants, anagamis, and the ones who are in the jhanas, as long as they maintain the jhana, emission of semen is not possible. So my today's lecture is about breathing and the emission of semen, that is related to the Chittaja Rupas. So next day we are moving into a new chapter or a new section, saying how Chittaja Rupas are related to the bliss of a living being. Bliss. There are 2 types of blisses related with the Chitta: the mental bliss and also the physical bliss. The mental bliss is very obvious. The Sukha Vedana itself is a bliss, and the suppression of defilements also brings bliss to the mind or the person. At the same time, production of good chittas, quality chittas, would eventually produce Chittaja Rupas, as the tradition says. The Chittaja Rupas are newly produced. I'm not talking about the radical opinion anymore. Chittaja Rupas are produced in the body by the Chitta, and those Chittaja Rupas contact with the Kaya Pasada in the body and produces Sukha Vedana, bodily Sukha Vedana. That's another bliss that we can experience. And then people who have been practicing Sila for a longer period will be able to feel this comfort in the body as well. That's another bliss that is related to the Chitta. Blisses related to Chitta are not only mental, they are also can be physical. And this physical bliss is also related to jhana. So I'll be talking about 2 types of blisses, as Buddha has explained, with regard to jhanas, the mental bliss and the physical bliss. So we are going into this. I have been lagging in this part of how Chitta is related to certain rupas. Now we move on to a topic of which discuss the blisses related to Chittaja Rupas. Chitta and Chittaja, actually with the Chitta. Then we move on to a topic afterwards, how Chittaja Rupas are related to our activities, and especially for the karmas that we do. What is the relationship? And what is the relationship between Chittaja Rupas and the Karaka Ditti, the view of a doer. And then we move on to a topic about Rupas related to Chittas but not Chittaja Rupas. And then we could conclude the topic of Chittaja Rupas and move into Uttaja Rupas, which will also be a very interesting topic. So I conclude the lecture, opening the forum for the Q&A session.
May I ask my question, Venerable Sir?
Sure.
My question is, spontaneous body act, that is, which is done with no premeditation. Breathing is one, and eye lid movement also, blinking. Now, when we notice that type of action, I think the object registering the object is happening very indistinctive level, and I think that type of perception is good enough to bring in consciousness in delusion only. They are not good enough, substantial enough to bring in consciousness in lustful, repulsive type of particular. Is it correct the way of my thinking? That's what
but if, for example, if someone is blinking, if someone blinks to a lady or a man to show about the lust, so obviously blinking could happen with the lustful thoughts. That's possible. Breathing can happen if someone wants to get closer to someone and breathe harder. Yes, breathing can happen. But when it is happening as a natural process, breathing, is another topic that I couldn't touch upon. Breathing is a process that can happen breathing can be done deliberately, and also it could happen as a natural process. And we may have the attention or may not on breathing. That's what is happening while we are at sleep. Breathing can be done together with the vinyattis as kaya vinyatti. For example, I can purposefully have kaya vinyatti and breathe, because my intention is to expand the body, and I can still bring it in forcefully. And it can happen as a natural process as well. When it is happening as a natural process, kaya vinyatti is not involved for sure, especially while we are at sleep. But while we are breathing intentionally, always there is an attention towards that. Now, having the attention and not having the attention is also another part. But for blinking of an eye, it's a deliberate action always. It's always a deliberate action. There can be an instant where the blinking of eye may happen naturally, but even though we are not aware of it, it's considered as an intentional action. Blinking of eyes is an intentional action, even though it happens without us being aware. Aware in the general sense. But even if you analyze it subtle, in a very microscopic level, there is one moment of attention towards this act. So blinking of eye is an intentional action with attention, even though we are not aware of it through metacognition. Then breathing can happen as a natural process and also as a deliberate activity with the attention. Sometimes while even the attention is there, breathing can still happen naturally. That you can experience in Anapanasati. In the beginning, there is a deliberate attempt or effort going on for every yogi. A subtle effort is there. If you start to prevent it, you will feel as the breath gets stuck and you will not be able to breathe properly. But on the other occasions, now someone can keep on observing. Someone could observe the breath while it's happening as a natural process. Breath is going in and out. You can still keep on observing that. So it's not necessary to have vinyatti at that moment. Then while they are happening now, breathing while it is happening, it can happen while we are not aware of it. because we are occupied in another object, or if someone is in a jhana, it doesn't have no awareness of breathing, but it happens as a natural process. So it's not necessary to say whether what kind of consciousness is involved. All the 74 types of consciousness are involved in breathing. And but regarding the blinking of eye when it is happening as a natural process, it depends. It depends. Now, normally, the normal explanation would be if the mind is occupied by the lust. If the mind is occupied by the lust, it can also happen as an outcome of lust. It's not necessary that we are liking the act of blinking, or we doesn't like the act of blinking, because if you say that blinking happens only through delusion, it has to be uddhacca chitta or vichikicca chitta. I don't think that every blinking happens due to uddhacca chitta, vichikicca, because even arahants do blink. So blinking can be done, as my opinion, can be done with all the kusala chittas and akusala chittas. It can be done even with the kiriya chittas. And what type of lobha is involved there? I would rather say, think about the surrounding moment. If the mind was in a lustful state, the blinking would also happen through a lustful state, in the lustful level. Because otherwise, if you are going to analyze what type of a lust was there towards the blinking, then I would have to say that blinking would never happen with vichikicca chitta, because vichikicca is always about doubting the 8 types of phenomena. There is nothing to doubt in the blinking. And uddhacca chitta. So what is the restlessness involved there? We can just keep on blinking with a natural mind. So then it amounts that if lobha and dosa is not involved, all the blinking has to be done with the kusala chitta. And what is the kusala maintained at that time? So what we have to consider is, if we are mindfully living, for example, at that time, blinking happens with the wholesome mind. If our mind is occupied by lobha at that occasion, then even blinking is happening with the lobha. So that's how I would emphasize on this, rather than saying it has to be only moha.
Thank you, Maggavihari.
Okay, I think the time is also up and there's no more questions. So we'll conclude the lecture. So today we talked about two related topics, breathing and emission of semen, which we had already discussed in detail in the previous lectures. So next day we are going to talk about the bliss related to our lives and related to the consciousness. So wish you all the best and thank you for joining the lecture, and hope you enjoyed it. And may this merit of discussing Dhamma helps us to attain the Nibbana and develop our Dhamma knowledge and finally attain the Nibbana. And also this may this help for the longevity of the Buddha Sasana. Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Buddha Sasanang Chirantittatu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.